Hi there, it's Tuesday the 14th of September 2021. We're continuing this month to look at mission on our doorstep and the call that each one of us as Christians has to be missionaries, to reach out with God's love and tell God's truth about Jesus dying on the cross and the difference that can make to all of our lives. And we're all called to do that, no matter whether that's in other countries or our own country, but basically it's just in the communities in which we live as we go about our daily lives. And this week in particular, we're thinking about community engagement, how we make those first steps to engage with people in all kinds of different ways, at all kinds of different times, in order to share God's life and God's love with people. And we're going to be looking at Jesus and how he did that in Mark's Gospel, chapters 3 to 5 this week. And the first part we're going to look at, the first story we're going to look at, is Jesus engaging with his family, engaging with the concerned family members which he had. And we're going to read the story in Mark 3 verse 20. Jesus entered a house, and again a crowd gathered, so that he and his disciples were not even able to eat. And when his family heard about this, they went to take charge of him, for they said, he is out of his mind. Then Jesus' mother and brothers arrived, and standing outside they sent someone in to call him. A crowd was sitting around him, and they told him, your mother and brothers are outside looking for you. Who are my mother and my brothers? Jesus asked. And then he looked at those seated in a circle around him and said, here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does God's will is my brother and sister and mother. Very interesting how Jesus dealt with his concerned family members. First of all, he didn't acknowledge their concern that he was out of his mind. He didn't respond to that. He almost ignored their concern because Jesus didn't see it as a legitimate concern. Jesus knew he wasn't out of his mind. He was pursuing the will of his Father. Sometimes if we are in families where we have family members who are not Christians and we are a Christian, sometimes it can seem very strange to our family, our passion for God and for church and for the Bible and etc. etc. And sometimes our family members have what they see as very legitimate concerns about us. They might think that we are going out of our mind, or that we have joined a cult or something like that. But many of those concerns are not legitimate concerns. And the way Jesus dealt with that was not to respond to those concerns. He didn't argue back. He just ignored those legitimate concerns. Now, he didn't completely ignore his family. Although initially he said, who are my mother and brothers and sisters? Of course, afterwards, I'm sure he would have gone out to speak to them. So obviously we are not called to ignore our family. We are called to love our family and care for our family. Of course we are. But notice that Jesus did not allow the concerns of his family to deflect him from putting God's kingdom first. And that's something which we have to do as we are Christians. We must put God's kingdom first, even sometimes before our family. So we understand the legitimate concerns of our family. We ignore those illegitimate concerns. We do try and reassure, of course, but we must not allow even the concerns of our family to deflect us from sharing God's kingdom and letting God's kingdom come to this earth. So Jesus, he engaged with his concerned family, and we too engage with our concerned families, but we continue to share the word of God and establish his kingdom here on earth. God bless you. Speak to you again tomorrow.